We tell them to children by firelight, with hushed voices and wide eyes. Call them folktales, fairy tales, legend stories passed down through generations, their edges worn smooth by time. We think of them as fiction, as products of a superstitious imagination. But what if the most terrifying tales were never meant to be stories at all? What if they were warnings, carved from the very real darkness of human experience? Tonight we deconstruct one such tale. We will follow the breadcrumbs of fear back through the centuries to the grim reality that birthed them.
Ow.
This is not just the story of a monster. This is the story of why we needed to invent it. The version we know today goes something like this. Long ago, in a village nestled against the ancient blackwood forest, a terrible curse fell upon the people. Each full moon, a creature would emerge from the deep shadows between the trees. It was neither wolf nor man, but a horrific fusion of both, the beast of Blackwood. It walked on two legs, yet was covered in matted fur. Its eyes glowed like embers, and its claws could shred iron. The beast would stalk the village outskirts, preying on those foolish enough to wander after dark. It preferred the young, the innocent. It wasn't just a predator, it was a thief of souls. It's the only way to placate it, the elders said, was to leave an offering at the edge of the forest at each full moon. A basket of fresh meat, a jug of milk. A lock of hair from a newborn? The story served as a classic cautionary tale. Obey the curfew, respect the boundaries of the forest. Heed the wisdom of the elders, lest the beast come for you. A simple, effective monster story. But let us peel back the layers. First, we must look at the setting. The Blackwood wasn't just a spooky name. Historical records and soil analysis show the region was rich in iron ore. The trees, their roots sucking minerals from the rust tread. Earth grew unusually dark and dense, casting a perpetual twilight on the forest floor. This was a real, tangible place that felt inherently different, wrong, and separate from the sun-drenched fields of the village. The forest was also a place of genuine danger, not from supernatural beasts, but from very real threats. Wolves, bears, treacherous terrain, and the ever-present risk of getting lost and starving. The first function of the beast was to anthropomorphize these natural dangers. It's easier for a child to understand and fear a single monster with a face and a motive than the abstract, indifferent peril of a wild environment. The beast gave a name to the darkness under the canopy. The tale specifies the beast emerges each full moon.
Why?
The full moon provided the only reliable light for nighttime travel or work. It was also a marker of time for a largely illiterate population now. Examine the offering, a basket of fresh meat, a jug of milk. These were not arbitrary items. In a medieval subsistence farming community, meat and dairy were precious calories. The difference between survival and starvation, especially during the lean winter months. Historical archives from the region show a record of a brutal feudal lord, one Baron Heinrich von Schwarzholz, whose name literally translates to Blackwood. Tax records indicate he insisted on his tithes being paid in kind prime cuts of meat and the yield from the community's best dairy cows. And his tax collectors were known to make their rounds by the light of the full moon, when travel was easiest. The beast that demanded offerings of food under the full moon begins to sound less like a monster and more like a cruel taxation policy. The folktale provided a way for the oppressed villagers to process their resentment and fear without risking open rebellion. They couldn't speak ill of the Baron, but they could whisper of the terrible beast he somehow kept at bay.
Oh.
The description of the beast is peculiarly specific. A creature that is neither wolf nor man. It walks upright, but is covered in hair. Its behavior is aggressive, especially under the full moon. There is a very real, very tragic medical condition that matches this description. Congenital hypertrichosis, sometimes called werewolf syndrome. Individuals with this condition develop hair all over their bodies. In the superstitious Middle Ages, such people were often ostracized, forced to live as outcasts on the fringes of society, perhaps in a dark forest. Furthermore, the link to the full moon could be a corrupted memory of the symptoms of porphyria, a rare blood disease that can cause mental disturbances. Sensitivity to light, making sufferers more active at night, and gums that recede from the teeth, giving them a feral, fang-like appearance. Is it so hard to imagine a disfigured, mentally ill outcast, living in the Black Wood, emerging at night to scavenge for food? A desperate soul, perhaps trying to steal a chicken or a scrap of meat, seen only in glimpses by the moonlight. The human mind, terrified and uncomprehending, would complete the picture with claws, glowing eyes, and a monstrous form. Finally, we have the most chilling layer, the social control. The beast preferred the young, the innocent. The solution was to heed the wisdom of the elders. In a time of high infant mortality and childhood diseases, parents needed a reason for the unexplainable. A child doesn't just die of fever. They are taken by the beast. This provided a narrative for grief, a reason for the unbearable. More darkly, it served as a powerful tool for enforcing social order. Children would not wander off, would not disobey, would not play near the dangerous forest or the baron's estate, because the beast was waiting. The story kept them safe from very real, mundane dangers by threatening them with a supernatural one. The elders maintained their authority as the only ones who knew how to keep the beast at bay. So, what was the beast of Blackwood? It was not one thing, but all of them. It was the danger of the wilderness, given a shape. It was the cruelty of the feudal lord, mythologized into a monster. It was the suffering of medical outcasts, demonized by fear. It was the unexplainable tragedy of death, personified. And it was a tool of social control wielded by those in power. The folktale was not a lie, it was a code. It was the only way. Our ancestors could process, discuss, and warn against the complex intersecting horrors of their daily lives. The monster was a container for all the fears they could not name. We tell these stories now for entertainment, but they are born from necessity. They are the scars on the collective psyche of humanity, each one a map to a real historical trauma. The next time you hear an ancient tale that makes your skin crawl, don't just dismiss it as fantasy. Ask what it's trying to tell you. Ask, what real human fear was so powerful, so pervasive, that the only way to survive it was to turn it into a monster and hope that by telling the story, you could keep it locked in the dark of the woods?